Hello, so I am Kathy Sutphen. I am the kindergarten teacher here at St. Catherine of Siena Catholic School. Um, I have been teaching, this is my 10th year teaching here at St. Catherine's. Prior to that, I taught preschool, but I also taught faith formation for kindergarten, first grade, and second grade for about 12 years. I'm a mom of two teenagers still. I have a sophomore in college and a sophomore in high school. And I'm also a wife, been married for 23 years, lived here in Wake Forest for just about 20 years now. And I guess that's who I am. That tells a little bit about me anyway. I'm also a lector at 5:30 on Sunday evenings, so you might see me there sometimes. So I have a few questions that were asked of me, and I guess a way to help you get to know me a little bit better. So one of the questions that they asked me was, what makes teaching at St. Catherine's better? I think one of the things that I love about teaching at St. Catherine's, I actually have a little note on my desk that I've saved for years now, but it's from my daughter, and there was a bulletin board back a few years ago, and it was a note that she had written on the bulletin board. But it really spoke to me as a teacher and as a parent to keep this in my memory. And the note that my daughter wrote, and it was, what do you love about St. Catherine's? And she explained that the thing she loved the most about St. Catherine's was how all the teachers really took time to get to know you, and they treat you and love you like you are family. And every time I have students enter here, whenever I have parents come in, that's the feeling that I want them to leave with, is that they are part of a community where they are loved, and this is a safe place where people want to get to know them, and they're going to treat them and love them like their family. And so I think that's part of what really makes teaching here better, is because we are a family. We go to church together. We go to Mass together. We see one another there. We greet each other outside of Mass. When we're out at restaurants, we go and cheer on each other's kids at football games or baseball games. We are a community, and we love one another. And so I don't think that's something that you get a feel for at every school. I know a friend of mine, her daughter was in a really sad situation in another school, and the teacher took the opportunity to tell the students that she loved them. And she said, I knew I wasn't supposed to tell my students that I love them, but just in this moment, I knew I needed to tell them that I love them. And I thought, that's not right. As teachers, that's our job, to tell our students that we love them every day, and to let them know how much we love them. And we get to show that example of God's love by loving our students every day. And so I think that's my number one goal and job here, is to teach them about God's love. And I do that by loving them and showing them how much I love them. So that's definitely something that's really important about St. Catherine's, and what I think makes teaching here one of the best places I could teach. The impact that I think this has on our students and or my own family. Certainly, as I spoke before, both of my students attended here, and I think that they knew that their teachers cared about them. They knew that their teachers loved them. They knew that even if they might have been reprimanded or given, not necessarily a punishment, but, like a correction, that it was done out of love, and that person was genuinely cared about them and was concerned for them. I definitely see the impact on my own students. I think that they know every day that they are loved. They're happy when they come here each and every day. We sit down right here in the same spot, and we do our calendar every day. And when it's Friday, we do a little dance because it's TGIF. But oftentimes I hear from them, oh, we don't get to come to school tomorrow on Saturday. And they're sad that, I'm going to miss you tomorrow. And I say, well, it's okay. Maybe I'll see you at Mass on Sunday. And so, we have that shared time together, and we know that we have that sense of community. And that's just a beautiful part of who we are and how we get to share our love with those students. And you can see it reflected in that they love to come to school each and every day, not just because they're here with their friends or they're excited to go to recess, but they're excited to be here with their teachers, their community, their family, and to get to be loved every day. And so I think that's very obvious when you see our class and how they interact with one another. As I said before, I've been teaching here for this is my 10th year teaching kindergarten, and I just absolutely love teaching kindergarten. I think that there's not really any greater job that you can have is that they come in and they're oftentimes very, reliant on their parents and not feeling very confident or independent. And with the little things that they start to gain here, the independence that they learn, to start caring for their own things. Oh, I have to get my own lunchbox, or I have to, get my own pencil. And so they're independent. And it's just awesome to see those little steps of independence that they grow in. But I think one of my favorite things about teaching kindergarten is, once they start to really learn how to read, they start to just, their eyes are opened for the first time to realize that, oh my goodness, there are words everywhere, and the door has been opened now, and the excitement is like fireworks going off for them because they suddenly realize that there are things around them everywhere that they can read, and it's like they've been given a magical key to the world. And so it's very exciting to get to see that. And usually around February, when we have a reading challenge, you really start to see them become readers, and they just become so joyful and excited to be able to read each and every day. So that's probably one of my favorite things about teaching kindergarten. I was thinking of this question earlier, and it's funny because, as teachers, we get lots of gifts. So the question is, what's your favorite gift that you've ever received from a student? I could easily say for sure one of my favorite gifts last year, I was given a beautiful purse or pocketbook if you're from North Carolina. And I think one of the reasons why I loved it so much was the kids in my class, they, it's a big thing in kindergarten, what's your favorite color? And they all know what my favorite color is. And so I guess the student, of course, led their parent to pick out this gift for me. And it was because it's Mrs. Sutphen's favorite color. And again, I think it speaks to the fact that the students want to take the time to get to know you. They love you for who you are. And, throughout the year, we do become like a family. They know stories about my children. They know stories about my dogs. On Thursdays, when they see me wearing my red shirt, they know that my son has a football game that day. And so it's how they take the time to get to know you. They bring you cards, they bring you gifts, but the excitement and joy that you see in them giving you a gift is part of the best part about it. On when it's your birthday, they can't wait to celebrate your birthday with you, and it's just the joy that you see in them and how they love you in return for all the love that you've given them. So I think that's that could easily be one of my favorite gifts. But anytime they make a card for you, even if they draw you a picture, those are some of my favorite gifts. I usually have a whole wall of pictures by the end of the year where, as they bring in different drawings or things that they've worked on, I love to display things that they've made for me just because I want them to know how much I appreciate that and how grateful I am for any time that they thought of me or, wanted to share something with me. So why am I still Catholic is my next question. And I think this is such an interesting question. My journey to become Catholic is a varied one, although I've later learned in life that many people have different journeys and paths for how they became Catholic. My mother converted to Catholicism from Southern Baptist, and so that was when I was about 5 years old. So it's always funny, I get to share with my students when we start talking about baptism that I was baptized around the same age that they are. And many of them can't remember their baptism, but when I can tell them, yeah, I was 5 years old when I was baptized, they're kind of astounded that, I had something in common with them, or that maybe I was 5 years old at some point. But I think the reason I'm still Catholic is, and especially after last year, we had a few trying things that happened last year in our parish and in our community. Two very dear people close to us passed away. And I was so concerned and so worried for my students about how they would be affected by the passing of these two individuals that I knew they were so close with. And when I came in and I could see my students were joyful. They were joyful because they realized that these two people that had passed were in heaven and they were with Jesus. And I knew that, number one, they had learned that right here and in their homes with their families. And so I felt great about the fact that I know they have the knowledge of Jesus and how much he loves us, but what a wonderful place heaven is. And that in our final resting, that's where we all long to be with Jesus, and to know that these two people we believe are in heaven, that we were going to pray for them to be there, and to know that the truth and the beauty of what the Catholic Church teaches us could bring comfort to these young children who might have normally been very saddened by the passing of these two people that they loved, but instead it brought them joy. I don't think that you could teach any greater blessing to somebody than to be able to teach that truth and that beauty. And it's the truths that the Catholic Church teaches. And so when I get to have my faith renewed each and every day, when I get to share that faith with these students, I can't imagine being a part of any other faith and or any other way to live my life. Just to know that this is the truth that I get to live every day is a beautiful truth. So, and the final question that I have been asked today is why Catholic education? And I love teaching. I love, as I said before, teaching kindergarten. They have so many questions. I think I read somewhere that they ask why like 4,000 times a day. And I do believe that sometimes. But the great thing is that there's always an answer. And the answer is usually because that's the way that God made it. And to be able to give that answer to children and to be able to explain everything in the loving, kind, generous way that we know God created the world and how he made things for us, to be able to give all of those answers through that filter of this is the way God created it or this is the way that God made it. It makes it easy because it's a truth, and it's the children are able to accept that answer, and it answers the question as to why or how or when, because it was all done through God. And so I can't imagine being in a place trying to teach about the world around us, so beautifully created by God, and not being able to give credit to our Creator. And I think that would be a very difficult way to try to teach, because it would feel as if you were not able to share the truth with students. And so I think I'm very blessed to get to share the journey and learning with these students, but also I get to pray with them every day. And when we're troubled, we get to turn to God and ask Him for help. When we know we've made mistakes, we get to turn to Him and ask Him for forgiveness. And so all of those things together make this the perfect place to help teach a child how to be a human and how to be a loving, caring person. And I just can't imagine teaching any other place. And so I'm grateful every day for the opportunity and the blessing of getting to teach these children here at St. Catherine's.